got it. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. It's good to hear so much chatter in the room. It means you're connecting with your fellow cooperators, which is what we want. But if I can just bring people back. Everybody have a good lunch? Good, good. Thanks again to cooperators for our lunch. So we are running a little bit behind, so I'm going to try to move us along. If I can ask everybody to come back together, please. If everyone can just come back, you'll get a break in a little while where you can chat again. Thank you, everybody. So a few things just to go over before we get right back into things. We are going to have a keynote speaker in a few minutes, but a few announcements before that. We want to take a moment to thank all of the sponsors of the annual meeting. Your annual meeting benefits greatly from the support of the sponsors. They're listed on the screen, so thank you to each and every one of them. And you've heard mentioned a couple of times now that we are collecting donations to support a local organization which is working to end homelessness, as we do each year at the annual meeting. This year we are supporting St. Clair's. We'll say a little bit more later about how you can donate if you haven't had an opportunity to do that yet. I have a very lengthy list of prize winners. Lots and lots of you have won prizes over the last couple of days. Listen carefully for your name. All I'm going to do is read out your name. If you think you have heard your name, make your way down to the conference services office downstairs before 4 p.m. to claim your prize. You must do it before 4 p.m. I'm not telling you what you won or who you won it for, just that you won. We have Claire Sewell, Brenda White, Sophie Capsulin, Susan Borboris, thank you, and congratulations, Nicole Bell, Dave Cameron, Trudy M., Twyla, Shandis Allen, Ted Pennington, Bill Campbell, Mary Burrows, Zeta Jaffe, Jared Fielding, Jennifer Chambers, Michelle Berry, James Gilliard, and then for those of you that played bingo last night at the social, there are prizes for that as well. Tim Mollison, Nicholas Vallada, and Lynn Wood. Yes, I'm sorry. Those last three, the bingo prizes, so Tim, Nicholas, and Lynn, your prizes will be mailed to you. Because to be honest, there weren't supposed to be prizes, but people were so into it that now there are prizes. So the prizes are being mailed to you. So I hope everybody enjoyed that, and make sure that you get down there before 4 o'clock. I just want to address the vote that happened on the special resolution. I know that there's been a lot of concern about that, and I apologize for the error that I made. It was, in fact, an error. So before the special resolution passed, we were operating under our old bylaws. Under our old bylaws, it's quite clear the way a special resolution is passed, and it is based on the votes cast, 2/3 majority of the votes cast. So that is the correct ruling. The bylaw did pass. Now that we have the new bylaw, we will be using those rules of order. But for the rules of order that were in place at the time of that, that was in fact my second ruling was the correct ruling. So I apologize for the confusion with that. Okay, now I'm going to hand things over to my colleague on the board, Laura Williams, who is going to introduce our keynote speaker.
Wow, you guys all look so beautiful out there. Yes, so it is my great pleasure to introduce Robert Wessling. Robert is the president and CEO of Cooperators. He is here to deliver a keynote address entitled The Resilience Imperative, Building Stronger Communities. In his role with Cooperators, Robert oversees the commitment of Cooperators to building a sustainable, resilient, and financially secure society for Canadians and their communities. He is a strong advocate of the cooperative values. He believes that the way to foster Canadians' financial strength is to invest in communities so that they can better withstand and recover from social, economical, and environmental challenges. He is also the founding director and member of the Partners for Action Advisory Board, and as a board member of the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction, where he leads flood resiliency's efforts across the country. On the global stage, Robert is the chair of the International Cooperative and Mutual Insurance Federations and their charitable foundations. We are delighted to have him here today to join us. Can you please give a warm welcome to Robert as he comes to the stage? Thank you. I'm not as tall as him. I can't actually step on the stage that way.
So whenever someone reads a bio like that, I just always want to come on stage and say, "Hi, I'm Rob." Laura, thank you so much. It's what an honor to be able to be here with you today. And Tim, thank you so much for the invitation. I want to start off by saying how much Cooperators appreciates the membership and partnership that we have with CHF. I think this is it's an example of how cooperatives can work together to build resilience. And I'll touch on that in a couple of different ways in the next few moments. I'm not going to start exactly on resilience. I'm going to start just adjacent to it, and hopefully it will tie in effectively. I find myself these days sitting around tables and speaking to groups and starting off by saying, "So how are you?" Because there's a lot going on. If you open your internet browser, open a newspaper, I think some of us still do that, watch TV, there is a lot of conflict and stress, a lot of divisiveness that's going on in our world. And I think this is absolutely the time that cooperatives need to shine, because the thing that we do is we bring people together, regardless of whether we have differing opinions on one topic or another. And that in and of itself is a significant act of resilience. And it's at times like these that, I don't know if that was a dog or a sneeze, but it was a dog, okay. Welcome. All right. There's lots of organizations are pulling away from multilateral institutions, from commitments that they have made, and I just want to talk a little bit about Cooperators in that vein. And I know I'm speaking to a group that has taken very similar positions. Cooperators has been focused on a journey of DEI and a journey of truth and reconciliation for some very simple reasons. It's in our DNA. We are, as you are, we are an organization who has a principle that is focused on democracy. Democracy doesn't work unless its constituents have voice, and constituents cannot have voice unless they can be their authentic selves when they're involved with your organization. And so if that's not an imperative for DEI and accessibility, I don't know what is. And so I want to share with you today, we have done nothing to slow down or pull back or be more quiet about our journey with respect to DEI, our journey with respect to truth and reconciliation. We have a long path to walk, I understand that, but we're committed to walking that path. Similarly, with respect to sustainability and with respect to net zero, rooms that I go to around the world that were full are half empty right now, which is just, it's saddening. But this is our time, and I want to commit to you that our commitments to net zero, our commitments to sustainability, our commitment to be a catalyst for a sustainable society is unwavering, because we can't seek to enable the financial security of Canadians and Canadian communities if our society is not sustainable. And so I know that's not directly resilience, but I'm trying to share those messages when I have the opportunity to, and I wanted to share them here with you today. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about resilience a little bit. Maybe a bit of definition. Resilience is about things like recovering after a disaster. It is about things like resisting the event that will impact a person, a family, a community, an asset. It is about absorbing that impact in a way that reduces the impact if it has to happen. It's about accommodating that impact so that the floodwaters come in, but they don't do the damage that they would have done otherwise. Those last three are really a lot about adaptation. And truth be told, for the most part over the history of the insurance industry, and for the most part around the world today, the main focus is on that last piece. It's about recovery. And that's a significant challenge, because as the risks that we're exposed to as a result of climate change, as a result of a lack of build-out of resilient infrastructure, et cetera, as a result of a lack of forethought in terms of where we place our homes or businesses or critical infrastructure, the cost of that risk is increasing at a pace that is much faster than the growth in our gross domestic product, than the growth of inflation. And so if you think about individuals, families, communities, societies having a risk budget, the cost of the risk budget keeps getting higher. 20 years ago, I was in rooms around the world having conversations about resiliency. They were very small rooms back then. They're bigger now. And we talked about something called the protection gap. And the protection gap is the gap between essentially the recovery mechanisms that you have and the risk that you're exposed to. So it's the thing you're going to have to cover on your own, deal with on your own if an event occurs. It's not just insurance, but an important part of it is insurance. In those discussions 20 years ago, we were mostly focused on the developing world, the vulnerable 20, the small island nations, et cetera, et cetera. The conversations now are about the developed world. And I want to share something with you that it really struck me this year. So after the fires in Los Angeles, I think you likely heard that many insurers were pulling out of that marketplace, that many families, many business owners would not be able to find insurance. That's the protection gap. In Los Angeles, USA, California's economy is bigger than Canada's. In Los Angeles, USA, people are not going to be able to find insurance. When I think about the hurricane that hit the Big Bend last year and moved into the Appalachian Mountains, I'm not sure if you've seen that or not, insurance penetration there was only a couple of percentage points. So most of the homeowners that lived there did not have any insurance. The protection gap was already there. I can guarantee you it's not available moving forward. And so the protection gaps in the US right now. It is in Indigenous communities in Canada right now, and I believe we are perhaps 20 years away in Canada from having similar problems in more of our communities as the problems that are in place in the US now and have been in place in vulnerable communities around the world for some time. So that's a very sobering dire message if you're believing it, and I hope you are. But it's also a call to action. And so I want to speak just a little bit about how your businesses are resilience businesses, and then I want to talk about how the Cooperators is a resilience business, and perhaps leave us with some hope about what we could do individually and collectively to ensure that that protection gap that, as I said, is maybe 20 years away from being widespread in Canada doesn't occur, and to enable the protection gaps that do exist in Canada to be reduced. And so, I was able to come in and listen to, I think, 45 minutes or an hour of the proceedings this morning. The engagement is fantastic, by the way. Absolutely love it. And all I kept thinking was, these are all resilience businesses. And Tina said it in a number of different ways, right? Having stable housing that you're not concerned about losing because you've had a financial event occur. Having a community that is stable, that will support you when you're in difficult times, is massive in terms of financial security. And that is an absolutely critical element of building resilience in Canada. And I'm thrilled with the government funding that's become available. And as Tim mentioned, I hope we're able to multiply that either through the government or through other sources, because we absolutely need housing, and it's a huge impact on financial resilience, health resilience, mental health resilience, etc. So thank you for what you do on behalf of your members and in your communities. At Cooperators, I said earlier that we think about the insurance industry as having been focused on recovery. In insurance parlance, that's indemnity. And so we were focused on a business model that was in this circle for much of our existence. We've expanded that now to a broader business model that's focused on resilience. And we'd like to think about the different ways, the different roles that we play, and how we can build resilience into those different roles. And I want to give you some examples of that from our own perspective. So the first is with the products that we sell. We've introduced just recently a product that's called Tomorrow Strong. It's available for homeowners right now. It will be available for commercial businesses like housing cooperatives before the end of this year is our hope. And essentially it does this. If your dwelling is damaged by a peril that is likely to repeat, or if a part of your building is damaged by a peril and that part of your building wasn't up to code or up to standard, up to standard in terms of resilience, we'll pay more to help you get it to that state. So if you live in a forest fire zone and you have asphalt shingle roof and that roof is damaged and it has to be replaced, we'll pay more so that you can get a tile roof put on, so the next time an ember from a forest fire falls on it, it's not going to start your house on fire. Similar, you can think of similar elements related to flood, etc. And the idea is, if we're going to rebuild that structure or repair it anyway, let's build it back better in a way that's going to make it more resilient, less likely that loss is going to happen. I won't. Thank you. Another example that I'll share is that we want to use our invested assets to drive resilience in the communities that we live in and serve. And so we've committed to, by 2026, having 50% of our invested assets in impact investments. These are investments that drive positive externalities as opposed to negative externalities. In net zero investments, so transition investments. So these are investments in businesses or securities that have committed to net zero, have a plan, have interim targets, and are hitting them. Or resilience investments. And we've actually started a resilience investment lab, because no one's doing this in Canada and almost no one globally at this point. And what we're trying to do is to catalyze an investment market so that individuals and businesses can invest in things like a berming project that is going to take homes and businesses out of the pathway of floods, to invest in things like processes and procedures that will de-risk the urban-forest interface. So when the wildfire happens in the wild, it doesn't damage the community that's next to it as well. There's lots of examples. We're partnering with numerous municipalities. We hope that we'll be able to partner with CHF on some of these programs at some point. We're not at that point yet. But again, we're trying to use our invested assets to drive that resilient change. And then as a cooperative, in terms of our philanthropic activities here in Canada, we have a significant partnership with First Nations University in Regina that's all about helping young Indigenous people that are graduating from the First Nations University transition into the workplace effectively, and helping workplaces be ready to be culturally appropriate, to understand what it takes to be able to nurture Indigenous students that are coming into their workforce. And then we're doing globally, we're focused on microinsurance through the ICMIF Foundation. And this is all about working in the developing world to help people harden themselves, be able to recover from natural disasters that are increasing. And so I said I would end on a positive note. You know, this is a time when purpose-built organizations like ours, cooperatives, we are more important now than ever, because when the sinews of you know, the other multilateral engagements, other parts of society start to pull apart, we're actually the glue that holds and can pull them back together. And so my call to action for us is let's partner, let's cooperate amongst ourselves, and you know, we can be the solution to many of the problems that I've just shared. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Rob. We truly appreciate the support from cooperators. Okay, back to work, back to resolutions. Couple of reminders. We are scheduled to end at 4 o'clock, so we're going to have to keep things moving a bit. We do have enough time to discuss the resolutions, of course, and hear from delegates, but just a reminder, try not to be repetitive. If someone has already made your point, just step back. And the rules of order, again, are on page 2, and continue to be respectful of each other's points of view. After the resolutions, we're going to move on. Yes, David?
David Corson, Fairley Park Housing.
Sorry, microphone 2, please. Can I have it turned on?
I thought I was loud enough.
You are, but not for the online people.
True.
Go ahead, David.
David Corson, Fairley Park Housing Co-op.
Yes?
Point of information,
Yes?
just to clarify the last point before we had that wonderful presentation.
Yes.
Here's what I heard as a guy. We have the total votes, and you must meet 2/3.
Yes.
So we don't take any votes off that total.
So an abstention is not a vote cast. You vote in favor or you vote against. An abstention is not a vote cast, so we don't include that number in the total votes.
I will take your word for it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I cordially disagree.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we will carry on with resolutions. We have an exciting panel for you this afternoon. We have some financial resolutions, which will also be exciting. And we will take a break after the financial resolutions, so there will be a break this afternoon. So our next resolution is investing in co-op housing to support households and the economy. In a couple of moments, Claude Papin from the board is going to speak to this resolution, and for those that need the warning, he will speak in French, so you will need your translation device if you don't understand French. But first I will read the motion in full, and then I'll seek a mover and a seconder. That CHF Canada communicate to governments the direct and beneficial impact of the construction, the acquisition, and repair of co-op housing on both households and the economy. And that CHF Canada communicate to governments, partners, media, and the public that as strategic public investment in uncertain economic times is needed, the co-op housing sector is ready to work with governments to act quickly to help support the economy and protect households through the construction of acquisition/repair of cooperative housing. The resolution is on page 72 of the English meeting book and page 76 of the French book. And I will ask for a mover and a seconder, please. If you can go to the microphones. This is your chance to get your name in the minutes. Microphone 1.
Linda McNamara, Cole Road Co-op.
Thank you very much. And a seconder, please. Microphone number 3.
Rita DeAndrews, Britannia Glen Co-op, seconded.
Thank you very much. And now, Claude, I will ask you to speak.
Merci. Bonjour.
Hello, everyone. Today, I take the floor to present you the point of view of the board regarding this resolution. Currently, there is economic uncertainty, the threat of a global trade war, rising inflation, and shifting geopolitical conditions have put pressure on every aspect of our economy and society. In this context, it is more critical than ever that we make the case for strategic public investments that not only support economic stability, also deliver long-term equitable outcomes for people and communities. Governments need ready-made, high-impact opportunities to stabilize and stimulate the economy. Cooperative housing is one of those solutions, one of those opportunities. Investments in the development and repair of co-op housing does not just put shovels in the ground, also keeps tradespeople working, secures jobs through the supply chain, and ensures that families have stable, affordable homes all along the chain. We've seen this work before. In response to the 2008 financial crisis, the federal government had invested nearly $2 billion in social housing. The message is clear. Cooperative housing is not just good housing policy, it's also good economic policy. And the co-op housing sector is ready to partner with governments and act quickly. We are shovel-ready, experienced, and driven by mission rather than profit. So I ask you for your support in this resolution, not just as a statement of principle, but also as a strategic call to action. Let's ensure CHF Canada leads with a strong, united voice to advance investment in cooperative housing as a key part of Canada's economic and housing resilience strategy in terms of housing and economy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Claude.
Mics. Okay, in that case, we will go directly to the vote. Can I have the motion, please, or the options? Okay. Investing in co-op housing to support households in the economy. A, support. B, opposed. Or C, abstain. Or 1, 2, 3. Just waiting for a signal. Okay. A couple more seconds to vote, please. All right, you can close the vote and share the results, please. Okay, that overwhelmingly passes. Thank you very much, members. And we will move on now to resolution number 3, Think Big. I will read that in full again and seek a mover and a seconder. That CHF Canada has a goal of 20% of all housing in Canada be community housing, including cooperative housing, and that this goal is communicated with governments, the media, stakeholders in the public, so that they understand this is in line with the capacity and intention of the cooperative housing sector. That resolution is on page 73 of the English meeting book and page 77 of the French book. I'd like to ask for a mover and a seconder so that we can proceed with discussion, please. And again, please clearly state your name and the name of your co-op. Microphone number 1.
Jean Williams, Chicago Co-op, Brampton, Ontario.
Thank you very much. And microphone number 3.
Rita DeAndres, Britannia Glen Co-op.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to ask Dawn Obokata to come to the mic to speak on behalf of the board. Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you,
Microphone's
Mary Ann. So I'm very proud to speak to this resolution today, which sets a bold but achievable vision for the future of housing in Canada. That 20% of our national housing stock be non-market community housing, including, of course, cooperatives. This is not just a number. It is a reflection of the scale of the challenge we face and the scale of our ambition as a movement. Currently, only about 3.5% of housing in Canada is non-market community housing. That puts us far below the average of similar countries. It also leaves millions of Canadians vulnerable to housing insecurity, skyrocketing rents, and substandard living conditions. We know what's needed. We need more housing that is permanently affordable, democratically managed, and rooted in community. We need more cooperative housing. So let's be clear, the need is not abstract. Over 2.6 million Canadians live in core housing need, especially Indigenous peoples, seniors, newcomers, racialized Canadians, people living with disabilities, and more. Every day, people are making impossible choices between rent and groceries, between safe homes and basic dignity. The goal of 20% also aligns with the growing consensus across the housing sector and with our own adopted strategy, Co-op Housing for All. Our sector has the development ambition, the capacity, and experience to build and acquire at scale. We are ready to lead. So that's why this resolution also calls on CHF Canada to communicate this goal clearly to governments, media, stakeholders, and the public so that everyone understands this is achievable, it is necessary, and it will deliver benefits that reach far beyond housing into economic security, community well-being, and social justice. So let us lead with vision, let us speak with courage, and let us make it clear that we will not settle for marginal progress when transformative change is within our reach. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. So, you know, this can feel like a long day and people can start to get tired. So apparently can our balloons. And balloon number 3 is still really peppy, but the rest are a bit sad. So it's making it harder for me to see the microphones. However, I do see someone at microphone 4.
Portland Elliott Woodsworth Housing Cooperative, who will be voting in favor of this, but I would like to propose, and I'm not sure if the rules will allow for it, so I'm proposing a friendly amendment, at least in spirit, that CHF Canada, as a start, has a goal of 20%. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Cortland. So we don't generally allow for friendly amendments because it's a bit complicated in such a large group, but I think the spirit is definitely there. Microphone number 2.
Donald Altman, Church Isabella. So I'll be voting in favor of the motion as well. But there's 2 things about the motion that I think are a bit troubling. One is that there's no timeline. Doesn't say by such and such a date we're going to do this. And the other that I have a bit of a problem with is when we talk about this being attainable, I think it would have been helpful to actually say what portion of additional new housing has to be this kind of housing in order to get from 3.5 to 20? Because I think it's a substantial proportion, and I frankly don't think that is feasible in the intermediate run even.
Thank you, Don. Microphone number 1.
Yeah, Robert Bott, Sunny Hill, Calgary. I had kind of the same question, although different form. You say community housing, but only mention cooperative housing, and I'm just would like to know what other forms are included in that definition.
Is there someone who would like to take that question? Microphone 2, please.
Other forms of community housing, in addition to cooperative housing, include not-for-profit housing, supportive housing, public housing, urban, rural, and northern Indigenous-led housing. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but those are examples of non-market or community housing. It's housing that exists for people and not for profit.
Thank you, Tim.
When you publicize this,
Okay, microphone 1, you can make one more comment.
just when you publicize this.
Sorry, can we have microphone 1 on, please?
When you publicize this, you should be sure to show that what you mean by community, because right now it's vague. Anyway, I support the motion.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else at the microphones, so we will go to the vote, please. Think big. Cooperatives and nonprofits should be 20% of the housing market. A, support. B, opposed. C, abstain. Okay, just a few more seconds. You can go ahead and close the vote and share the results, please. All right. That motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, time to switch gears a little bit. We have, I think, a session now that's going to be really interesting and really entertaining. We've assembled a very special panel for you today entitled "The Future is Now: How Young Leaders in Ontario Are Shaping Their Movement." So I'm going to begin by introducing our panel moderator, Diana Yoon, who will introduce our panelists. Diana herself is a young leader in the cooperative movement. She holds the role of Program Manager, Policy and Government Relations on the CHF Canada staff team. Her energy and dedication to our movement has been critical to our advocacy success. And if you've ever been anywhere in public with Diana, she knows everyone. And everyone knows her. So over to you, Diana.
We're going to be on these couches, so I think the podium will move. But yeah, good afternoon. Je suis très heureux de modérer.
It's really my pleasure to moderate this panel today.
But I'm trying, I'm learning. Thank you. Great, thank you so much. So fostering the next generation of leaders in our movement is critical to its and our success. We will hear from youth champions to Ontario-based organizations who have been fostering youth leadership through specific initiatives. We'll hear what they entail and how it's going. You know, why do they think it's so important, what the results have been. We'll also hear directly from young leaders to learn all about how and why they got involved. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our panelists. I will sit, I guess, here as they come onto the stage. So Sarah Jensen is our first panelist. They are an at-large board director on the CHF Canada board. Welcome, Sarah. And a member of Castle Green Housing Cooperative in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Okay, Nemelinda Lester is the incoming Ontario Board Director of the CHF Canada Board, a member of Riverdale Cooperative in Toronto, and previously the President of the Cooperative Housing Federation of Toronto. Also from CHFT, Tom Clement, who you probably have heard from, is the Executive Director of the Cooperative Housing Federation of Toronto. Welcome, Tom. And our final panelist is Carol Fleming, the Director of Cooperative Young Leaders Program with the Ontario Cooperative Association. Welcome, Carol. Well, this will be exciting. So to start us off, we're going to have Carol and Tom. They have a couple slides. You know, why did your organization start thinking about youth leadership? You know, what are the programs you've started? And how are they going? What are the results? What are the outcomes? So, Carol, kick it away.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the invitation to join you today. I am an employee of the Ontario Cooperative Association, and I'm very happy to say over the last 18 years I've been involved with the Cooperative Young Leaders Camp. So the Ontario Cooperative Association, can we go to the next slide? Okay. The Ontario Cooperative Association is really focused on a couple of primary things this year. The first thing is cooperation among cooperatives and a real dedication to cooperative youth education. So we have a couple of programs that we have worked on for the last couple of years, and we have actually worked on them with others in the co-op sector. One called Cooperative Minds, where we actually go into schools and teach them decision-making through cooperation. We partnered with the cooperators and developed this. We also have an onboarding program, and this is a virtual program that introduces all cooperatives to all different sectors. And I think the really big thing about this program is it shows how big our sector actually is. When you talk about one housing cooperative or one credit union, people look at the sector and think that it's very small, but it's actually a large sector. And in June, we did a second level for onboarding, and this is a program for youth to come and learn about being on a board of directors. We find a lot of youth think that the board is something that they can't be on or can't achieve because of their age. And at OCA, we have a youth seat that we've had for many years that is a really effective part of our board. And then, of course, the Cooperative Young Leaders Camp. It's a week-long overnight camp for kids 13 to 18. And it's been in existence since 1967. And we've had 6,000 youth go through the camp, and many of them from your housing co-ops. So it's a unique summer camp that's one part experiential learning and one part traditional. It's really deeply rooted in co-op values. So we talk about the principles, we talk about how cooperatives serve the greater good, and all of our facilitators there represent the co-op sector or graduates. And we find that the kids leave feeling more confident, more courageous, more independent. And quite often I get an email after from them saying, do you know a cooperative that I can go to work for, or a cooperative I can reach out to, or my parents are looking for housing as their co-op housing. So they actually do get the message while they're at camp for that week. And the next. Campers who graduate are welcome back as intern facilitators. We want them to, after their 3 years there, to learn that there is a future in the co-op sector for all of them. We employ graduates of the program at OCA through our summer student jobs, and we really encourage them to seek opportunities in the summer. So we quite often get emails saying, I'm looking for a summer job. Do you know a cooperative that's looking for employees? And we stay in touch with them as they go through university and try to make them aware of all the wonderful opportunities that are out there to work in co-ops.
That's amazing. Yeah, youth education is so important. I'm sure we'd all love to go to summer camp. Thanks, Carol. Tom, let's hear from you. How have you been championing youth leadership?
Well, we have a program called the Diversity Scholarship Program that we've been operating. Higher? Okay. Usually people are saying, tone it down. We have a program called the CHFT Diversity Scholarship, which we've been operating now. This is our 21st year, so it's a well-established program. If we could, can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so one of the things we realized early was that young people winning the scholarship were joining their co-op boards. And so we embarked on a campaign to encourage young people to join our board. And so far, we've had 3 presidents of CHFT who are scholarship winners. And it didn't happen right away, but when you take a look at the time they served as directors of CHFT, 30% of the time that presidents spent at CHFT in the last 20 years, we had scholarship winners as our leaders. So can we have the next slide? Okay. So in total, we've had 12 diversity scholarship winners that have served on our board. And we also, by opening the door and encouraging scholarship winners, other young people came to join our board, and 5 additional young leaders joined our board in the same time period. And we also, we have a second organization, which is our charitable fund, which is a partner in our scholarship program, and 2 diversity scholarship winners have served on the charitable fund board. And for the first time in our history, at least up until a couple of days ago, because Namalinda was our president, she's no longer our president, she's moved on to bigger and better things. But our 2 presidents, one for the CHFT, our organization, the Federation, and one for our charitable fund, both were scholarship winners. And when you really think about that, that shows a lot how the young people have influenced our organization. Could we have the next slide, please? Okay. But often the scholarship winners took interest in other things that we do, and 8 of our diversity scholarship winners have served on our land trust boards. So that's part of what we do. And then we've also had additional scholarship winners who've joined the charitable fund. So in total, I think we've had 7. So next slide, please. Or is that the end? Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's amazing, Tom. Yeah, thanks. Let's give a clap for the diversity scholarship. Okay, so let's hear directly from some young people. Sorry, I know Tom makes this joke. He's young at heart. But Namalinda, Sarah, what motivated you to get involved in the co-op housing movement and take on leadership roles?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I think really what motivated me, I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a young co-op member. I moved into a Riverdale cooperative as, you know, my first home, like living in Toronto. We were new to Canada, and so, you know, we really got a chance to be exposed to community and what cooperative housing means, and through that made a number of different connections in meeting, you know, Tom at CHFT, understanding that the diversity scholarship is an opportunity for me to, you know, further my education. And it was actually at the diversity scholarship where I was exposed to my future employer, HomeStarts. And there had the opportunity to sort of learn and understand what it takes to be a coordinator at a co-op and build that community. And I think what really mattered for me was understanding that I was in a support system and, you know, having a co-op housing manager that encouraged us to, you know, apply for things like the diversity scholarship. And I think, yeah, the motivation through that has just been understanding that I'm in a community and it's a reciprocal relationship. My co-op invested in me and the sector invested in me, and I want to reinvest in the sector. So, yeah.
I love hearing that from Namalinda because my story is very similar. I like to say that the first co-op champion in my life was my mom because she made a very intentional choice to move us into a housing co-op when I was 7 years old. And it was because I grew up in that co-op family, which I know is a story that resonates with many of you in this room. I've heard from many of you that you also grew up in co-op housing. that I was able to grow and learn in those co-op values, so that by the time I was 18, I was being encouraged by other members of my co-op to go on my national co-op board. And as a teenager, my co-op also sent me to CYL, where I got to meet Carol, that then became one of my first bosses and my first job, which was an incredible experience and introduction into the co-op sector. Another really important piece was that I got to come to my first AGM when I was 19 years old to represent my housing co-op. And it was that faith in me at that young age to go to the national stage that has me sitting on the board today, has me doing work in the co-op sector across Canada and internationally. And without that connection, without that ability to see every single one of your faces in this room at that young age, to get those connections, to hear those stories across Canada, to find out that I wasn't alone in my co-op journey, that I was a part of a family that's thousands of people strong across Canada, that meant that I was able to really step into a role as a young leader. And now I feel like it's my job to pass that torch on, to continue to encourage other young people in the sector through our young member network here at CHF Canada.
It's really heartwarming, and it's great to hear the stories, how full circle everything has been on this panel. So the next questions are for all of the panelists, whoever wants to chime in. But how does the co-op housing movement benefit by having young people involved? You know, what does it give us? What do young people bring to the table? You know, any success stories you want to share? Who wants to start?
When we talk about how does it benefit, I think it benefits everybody from so many different perspectives. We absolutely need co-op champions as the population ages, and that passion for what cooperatives do and how, as I said before, we serve the greater good. There is so much benefit in that. And the one big benefit I hear from the kids that come to camp all the time is I really felt like I belonged to something. I'm actually a member of something, and I feel like I can have an impact, not only in my housing co-op, but around in the world around me. And I think that can't be understated, that youth is looking for that kind of belonging.
There's many things I think young people bring to our movement, to our boards, and it's just a different perspective. For one thing, I've worked with the CHFT board, the chair, all our affiliated boards, but I also worked with co-ops where young people were the key to the board. And what I saw is there's a lot of stuff going on in the educational system that older people don't know about. And there's, for example, in Toronto, there's heritage language programs. They teach them about conflict resolution. And what I really noticed with the young people is they didn't want to fight with each other as much. There was less friction. And the other thing I noticed is that they prepared for the meetings really well. And the only thing I would say about them, not so strong on punctuality. So.
I guess I can answer next. I think when we think about the sector and we think about the sector as a movement, you know, we talk a lot about the 70s and the boom, and I'd like to point out that, you know, it was a young Tom, a young John Harstone, a young Marianne who were, you know, the leaders of the movement at that time, and they've stayed consistent in supporting the movement all through these years. And so, and I think oftentimes when we think about movements, it's often young people who are pushing forward their ideas and pushing for change. And so I hope we are, you know, an example of that continuing on, and I hope to encourage more young people to join that movement and have their voices heard.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think as a young leader who has had the opportunity to learn from so many experienced co-op mentors, many of you are in this room, so shout out to you and huge thanks. I can really speak to the importance of carrying that legacy forward. It's about that shared history and being able to learn from our experienced co-op leaders so that we can carry that into the future. And I also think that the co-op movement just really, really resonates with young people, both inside and outside the sector. I know that I have lots of friends who didn't grow up in housing co-ops, who have grown up with the same co-op values, but they don't know their co-op values until somebody like me comes along and tells them. And I think that that is really the key to reaching the wider public, is using the housing co-op model to help house more young folks across Canada and to really get that word out about our movement.
Yeah, these are really great points. And to tie it back into Rob's keynote, young people are resilient and they've gone through lots of things. And for this next question, you know, life is busy, but co-ops are really about active participation. What advice would you give housing co-ops or other housing sector organizations to get more young people involved and to foster their leadership and while they're involved? Maybe we can go in the opposite direction.
You want to hear me speak twice in a row? I really think it's very important that we get our youth out to big events like this. So if your co-op can sponsor a young person to come to our AGMs, I can't emphasize enough how big of an impact that can have on them. If your young folks in your co-op aren't able to be here, if they can get involved with our young member network, we would love to have them, because it's about creating that network across Canada of young people to be that next generation of leadership. If your co-op is doing development, see what young people you can get on your board team or what young people you can hire for your development team. And it's just about including them with every step of that process. Young people have the skills that you need in your housing co-op. It's just about connecting with them.
Yeah, I totally agree and want to echo all those points. You know, if you're sitting in this room and you're an employer, you know, take a chance on a young person. You just never know, you know, where it might lead. You know, if you're, you know, have an opportunity to, you know, create a leadership position on a board for a young person, you know, give them that opportunity to learn about operating in governance structures, because, you know, it also helps them build those skills to carry their careers further. And so, yeah.
I think for us as co-op people, the way to involve young people is to ask them. Just say, would you like to join the board? That's the way it goes, and they're often surprised, but they think about it, and you know, they step forward. So that's really important. I wanted to tell a story about what happened to us at CHFT. A lot of stuff just happened. It wasn't like there was a master plan. But at some point, we actually had a majority of young people on the board. We'd never had a president who was a scholarship winner or a young person at that point. And so the board was 6 young people, mostly scholarship winners, and 3 regular directors, for lack of a better way of describing them. But something very magical happened, because this had been going on for a number of years. And without any consultation, without any discussion, every person who was nominated for an executive position was a young person. And the key thing is all 3 people who were not young people stepped back to give them the opportunity. And what was, you know, people can come back on our board after they have a break. And it just happened that at that point, the three older directors had all been presidents of CHFT at one time. They stepped aside. They stepped aside so we could have entirely young people leading our organization. And that was without a plan, but it was a wonderful, as I was going home that night, I thought, wow. You know, because it's a really big deal. But the fact that the older people embrace them, and I've seen this in other co-ops, in another co-op I worked with, when the young directors were elected, the first thing the president did was reach across the table And that's what we got to do. We got to ask people to run. We have to encourage them. We have to give them the support. And if we do, we will continue to have a absolutely vibrant movement.
I agree. I think one of the important things that we do at CYL is we have our facilitation team from the co-op sector really work with the youth and let them take over running the camp. For the first time, they've actually had leadership roles and never had that opportunity before. And the other thing we're doing is reaching beyond the co-op sectors. Last year, we ran something said, bring a friend to camp. And some of the kids that came to camp didn't live in a housing co-op, didn't belong to a credit union, or weren't farmers from our dairy sector. And they said, oh, we had no idea this existed. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to reach out beyond, and we need champions to do that. And yeah, I totally agree. We have to step aside and let the young people lead and actually prove what they can do, because quite often they surprise us and do really amazing things.
And
Well, go ahead, Sarah.
send your kids to co-op camp too.
Yeah, and just a shout out to the Young Members Network, Sarah and Sahara. You can wave. If you have any questions, maybe reach out to them. But yeah, thank you very much, Carol, Tom, Nemalinda, Lester, for being youth leaders, for championing youth leadership. It makes the co-op housing movement stronger. So thank you all for your attention.
Yeah, thanks. Is the other podium coming back up? Because the treasurer is going to be up here with me, right? It's on now. Just had to do a little quick furniture rearranging there. So that was a great panel. Thank you very much to all of the panelists and to Diana for moderating. Very inspirational to see what's going on. And now I'm going to move us on to the financial business. Yeah. Microphone 2. Those balloons are
Not
problematic.
to take away from the panel at all, but I just want to point out, if you look around the room, that Tom isn't the only person who still has energy.
Thank you, Don. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone that copies of the supporting documentation for all of the financial resolutions was made available on the annual meeting website in the democracy section in early May, and they're also in the meeting book on page 75 for the English version and page 79 for the French version. I hope you have had an opportunity to study the documents. There will be a test. Our first financial resolution is to receive the audited financial statements for 2024. We resolve that the audited financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024 be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Microphone 3. Oh. Try again. No, microphone 3, please.
Rita DeAndres, Britannia Glen Co-op.
Thank you very much. Microphone 1.
Michelle Berry, Cornerstone Co-op.
Thank you very much. So we have that moved and seconded. And now I'd like to introduce our auditor, Catherine Gagnon-Plouffe of Marcel Lavallee. Catherine is joining us virtually as she did last year. So I will turn it over to Catherine.
Hi. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to present our independent auditor report. I have a big sound. Is it possible to look at that?
Sorry, Catherine, what do you need?
Well, I'm hearing twice.
Is there? You might have to mute us. Turn your volume down until we start asking you questions. Then turn it back up. Try again and see how you're doing.
Oh, it's the same, so I'll continue like that. It's okay. So my name is Catherine Gagnon-Plouffe, the partner at Marcel Lavallee, the auditor firm. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to present our independent auditor report on the non-consolidated financial statement of CHF Canada for the year ended December 31st, 2024. A copy of our audit report has been shared on the website and remains accessible for everyone to review. The purpose of an audit is to provide you, the member of CHF Canada, assurance that the non-consolidated financial statement of CHF Canada are free from material misstatement and they are in accordance with the Canadian Accounting Standard for Not-for-Profit Organization. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian Generally Accepted Auditing Standard. The responsibility for preparation of the financial statement lies with management and governments. They are also responsible to implement internal control to ensure that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Us, the auditor, our responsibility is to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statement taken as a whole are free from material misstatement due to error and to issue an auditor report that includes our opinion. To obtain our assurance, the procedure mainly include inquiries with management and evaluation of accounting policies, sampling a series of transactions to trace back supporting documents, reviewing significant financial controls to ensure they operate throughout the years, and reviewing and testing account reconciliations. The audit evidence obtained were conclusive and satisfactory to issue our independent auditor report, except for one item. This year, CHF Canada has a new partnership with Community Impact Investment. Due to tight delays to finalize the audit and circumstances beyond our control, we were unable to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence to determine the value of this investment. Therefore, it is valued at $1 in CHF Canada non-consolidated financial statement. We were unable to determine whether any adjustment were necessary for this investment. Except for this possible effect mentioned in the partnership, our report states that in our opinion, the non-consolidated financial statement present fairly in all material respect CHF Canada's financial result for the year ended December 31st, 2024, and they are in accordance with the Canadian Accounting Standard for Not-for-Profit Organization. Our report is dated March 21st, which represents the date of approval of the financial statement by the member of the Board of Directors. This completes my presentation of our independent auditor report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katrine. I'd like to take the opportunity to point out that the report on the 2024 performance was included in the budget report, which was made available on the website. And I'd now like to call on CHF Canada's Treasurer, John Bathurst, to provide you with more information about our 2024 financial year.
Good. Thank you, Marianne. Marcel Levay was first appointed in the mid-1980s. In accordance with CHF Canada's policies, the Finance and Audit Committee tenders our audit services every 7th year. This was done in early 2020, at which time the firm was reappointed by the members on the recommendation of the Finance and Audit Committee. The Board and Finance Audit Committee have always found and continue to find that their services to be very satisfactory and believe that there is continuing value to our members in maintaining this continuity of service. Do we need a motion now? We should have two of these.
I know we should have two of these things, but we can share. Are there any questions on the financial review or the financial statements? If so, please make your way to the microphones. Yep, I see. Microphone 2. Someone should pop that balloon. It's kind of annoying now.
Try again?
Go ahead.
Microphone 2, David Corson, surprise. Fairley Park Housing Co-op, Ottawa. Madam Chair, with your permission, I wish to address the Treasurer.
Yes?
John, good to see you. We're both on the Finance and Audit Committee. So I missed it then, and I missed it here, so I'm asking, what was the cost of governance? I couldn't find it.
Perhaps staff could help find that answer quickly.
And should it be offline, because I'm not sure it affects, but it's a question most people have of what is our governance costing us, because that's why we made this huge change a few years ago, was to save money on governance, and are we?
Well, there were a number of reasons.
For those of us.
I can see staff quickly trying to find that. While they're looking, I'll just ask if there's any other questions, but I don't see anyone else at the mic. Oh, here comes Tim to provide us. Oh, no. Here goes Tim to get more information. The answer is $303,000. I was going to say $303, but that didn't sound right to me. $303,000. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So then we will go to the vote on the resolution. If we can have that up, please. So the resolution is to receive the 2024 audited financial statements, A for support, B for opposed, C for abstain. I know we're getting tired. Press the button. A, B, or C. You can do it. Okay, a couple more seconds. Go ahead and close the vote, please, and share the results. All right, that motion passes. Thank you very much. The next motion is to reappoint our auditors, Marcel Lavallee, for the current year. We resolve that the firm Marcel Lavallee be appointed external auditors of the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada to hold office until the close of the next annual meeting. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Microphone 3 has figured this out and is ready for me. Microphone 3, please.
Rita DeAndrews, Britannia Glen Co-op.
Thank you very much. And a seconder at microphone 1.
Jean Williams, Chicago Co-op, Brampton.
Thank you very much. And I believe you gave those remarks. I believe you gave those remarks.
I did.
All right, so you've already had those remarks. So are there any questions? I don't see anyone heading to a mic. Okay, then we will go to the vote, please. Appointment of auditors, A for support, B for opposed, C for abstain. Okay, a couple more seconds. Last chance. Can close that, please, and share the results. All right, that motion is carried. Thank you very much. The next resolution is to adopt the schedule of dues for 2026. We resolve that the attached schedule of member and associate dues rates for 2026 be adopted. I need a mover and a seconder. Microphone 2.
Portland Elliott Woodsworth Housing Cooperative, we would like to move this as a good idea, perhaps.
Thank you. And seconder at microphone 3.
Caleb Howell, Westminster Housing Corporation.
Thank you very much. And John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Marianne. The 2026 due schedule proposes an increase of 10 cents per unit per month for member housing co-ops and a similar percentage increase for other membership categories. This represents a 2% increase. While the inflation rate has been gradually declining since early 2024, the most recent annual rate as of March 2025 stood at 2.3%. This increase in dues will allow us to continue to meet our members' needs, which are increasingly complicated and often urgent. At the same time, CHF Canada continues to ensure our structure and staffing can meet member and sector needs now and into the future. Your board has approved an ambitious strategic plan. It is the job of management to operationalize that plan, and the job of the board to unlock the resources necessary to complete the work. Dues are the core funding for CHF Canada's operations. Without adequate core funding, we are unable to provide management with the resources they need to realize our strategic goals and our overall vision of co-op housing for all.
Thank you, John. Microphone 2.
Donald Altman, Churches Valley, are going to hope that next year that my club finds a replacement for me. So I want to speak against this very strongly. This sets an incredibly bad precedent for your co-ops. I refer you to page 85 of the English document. We are reducing the necessary dues to run this organization by taking money from the endowment fund and from our reserves. Exactly what we tell our members not to do. And I think this is really a bad practice. The level at which we are taking the money out is, to me, is outrageous, and it really troubles me that it's been a long time since I've been here, And obviously, this has been growing over time. I was going to say this under the budget, maybe I'll say it now. So I haven't been here for a long time, so most of you have missed my famous speech about the endowment fund. But as one of the creators of the endowment fund and involved in an incredible struggle to get CHF management in particular to agree on the endowment funds, this is precisely our biggest fear when we agreed to the endowment fund, was that it wouldn't be used, it would be abused to shield dues. And I appreciate that we're all struggling, but 2% is too low, and I would imagine that most of the people in this room, housing charges went up more than 2% this year for exactly the same reason that they should go up here.
Thank you. Microphone 4.
Cortland Elliott, Woodsworth Housing Cooperative. Just so that I'm clear, the numbers in brackets are the numbers being charged now?
Correct.
So that the line 1 is a 10-cent increase
Per
going
unit
forward.
per month for 2026. So
Which-
$495 in this current year and $505 next year.
which for Woodsworth with 194 units would be $232.80. Okay,
gonna
thank you
trust
for
your
the
math.
understanding. Math.
Thank you. Don't see anyone else at the microphone, so we will go to the vote, please. To adopt the 2026 schedule of dues, A for support, B for opposed, and C for abstain. Okay, just a few more seconds. Okay, go ahead and close the vote, please, and share the results. All right, that motion carries. Thank you very much. And at this point, John has a financial review presentation for us.
Thanks again, Marianne. Good afternoon. Bon après-midi. I'm pleased to be here with you today and have an opportunity to report to you on some of CHF Canada's financial highlights for 2024. Slide 2. When not taking unrealized investments, gains and losses into account at $9.14 million, revenues this year were higher than budgeted, primarily the result of 4 things. First, a greater than budgeted cooperators loyalty payment. Second, higher than budgeted investment income. Third, more revenue from the AGM due to higher registration. And lastly, a significant increase in other revenue, mainly due to service fees from 4 co-ops, new project funding and PEI from CHTC, development fees, and the launch of the accreditation program. Additional contributions came from Greener Co-op program, course fees, cost cutters, cooperators scholarships, and ongoing support from CHTC and the province of Nova Scotia. We do not include unrealized investment losses or gains in our revenues because they are just that, unrealized. They are held in the fund surplus. On paper, the investments are worth less or more than what we paid for them, but we haven't sold them, and until we do, those losses or gains are unrealized. Financial statements are a snapshot at a single point in time and on an organization's financial position. So we have to report the investments are worth less or more than what we paid for them. But it does not mean we've actually suffered a loss or a gain, unless and until we sell them at that lower or greater value. When we eventually do sell an investment, The value of the profit made is added to the investment income line, which is reported separately, and the unrealized investment gain-lost account would be reduced by a similar amount. In the budget report in your meeting book, you'll see below the operating revenue, we've reported unrealized gains in investments and the operations of Community Housing Management Network, a wholly owned for-profit subsidiary. So their profits, losses are included in our statement. And the increase in the value of our ownership stake in Casa Financial Inc., of which CHF Canada was a 40% owner in 2024, all of which can't be budgeted. Slide 3, yep. On the expense side, at $8.14 million, we made plans to spend more than what we had budgeted and what was projected. There was more spending than budgeted, primarily in member services, overall program expenditures of $163,820, less than originally budgeted, more spending on Federation and co-op services due to more expenses than projected on sector consolidation, partly offset by lower spending on micro-grant program grants. Commercial insurance program expenses were a bit higher than budgeted due to more spending in some expense lines. In the education program, we had higher spending for regional delivery and consultant services for a variety of sector education programs, which are offset in part by a decrease in spending for the new Cooperative Housing Management Accreditation CMHA program and training events and materials in the Ontario region. Also offset in part by overall reduced spending on the annual general meeting and in the asset management services and financial planning services program. In public affairs and policy, the year ended lower than originally budgeted, primarily due to overall spending on almost all lines, the result of less consulting services and lower associated costs. Lower than budgeted external relation costs, with no federal election consulting support required in 2024, and lower costs of hosting Queen's Park Day, offset in part by increased spending on more special events and regional activities. The cost of undertaking a communications audit, which is $30,000, is included in other direct expenses. The development program, after chargebacks to the two endowment funds totaling $52,124, was higher than projected, the result of more travel with more projects and more staff in place, as well as higher legal costs with more development activity. Charges to the endowment funds for specific projects costs were significantly lower than projected. In finance and corporate services, higher spending compared to budget resulted primarily from increased legal costs in corporate services, but partly offset by lower board of director costs. Increased office and administration costs resulting from higher office rent, computer systems maintenance, bookkeeping, and accounting, but primarily computer systems maintenance, postage and couriers, partly with the postal strike late in the year, plus database development and other office expenses, less direct staff time charged to projects, resulting in lower overhead recoveries. Offset in part by lower than projected spending on depreciation expenses, telecommunications, employee relations, and management staff meetings and staff travel. Offset in part primarily the result of changes in program and administration staffing costs. Lower salary and hiring staff development costs, offset in part by unbudgeted hiring expenses and generally lower recoveries of staff time charged directly to some program and staffing. Slide 4. The original budget showed us ending the year with $983,900 more expenses than revenue, and in the end, at December 31st, we had $996,345 more revenue than expenses because of the higher net revenue attributed to increased revenues and changes in spending, which I spoke of earlier, and the routine formula-driven transfer of some of the earnings of the Ontario and National Endowment Funds to the operating fund. We also had originally budgeted and did transfer the previous year's cooperators' loyalty payment of $752,566 to operations, and added the cooperators' loyalty payment received in 2024, $969,977, to the same reserve for use in later years. In accordance with our policy on how we treat unrealized investment gains or losses, we attributed unrealized investment gains of $1,167,228 this year to the operating fund surplus, resulting in a fund balance of just over $2.8 million at the end of 2024. The other side of this equation is what we owe, and amounts held in various fund balances. Money we owe to others totals $623,717 and is included here. In addition, this is also where we show any dues income for 2025, which we received in late 2024. Dues received in advance amounted to $892,577, a bit lower than 1 year earlier, which was $1,363,640. The various fund balances, which include both endowment funds and our reserves, are also included here. Like the operating fund, both endowment fund balances were higher at year end than the beginning of 2024. Net of the transfers to the operating fund for operations and some of the development program costs. This is due to not only unrealized gains, but also higher than budgeted investment income in each of the two funds. The National Endowment Fund ended the year with a balance of $5,349,549, up $586,709 from the start of the year, and the Ontario Endowment Fund with a balance of $7,883,396 was up $875,547 from January 1st, 2023. The two funds taken together total $13,232,990 on December the 31st. Thank you. And I just say, did you say something about finances not being exciting? And it sounded somewhat facetious to me. I have to say, these gray hairs come from being involved in lots of financial statements, both my own personally and other organizations. And we have so much to be thankful for the amazing shape that we're in financially. That's my own 2 cents worth.
Thanks, John. Okay, so I will now move on to the resolution to receive the final 2025 budgets and the summary 2026 forecast for operations. We resolve that the 2025 budgets for operations and the National Endowment Fund, as finalized by the Board of Directors, and the 2026 summary financial forecast be received. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Microphone 3.
Can I ask a quick question first? Kathy Long from Stoa Co-op. What is the money from the endowment fund? Where is it scheduled? Where is it going to be used for? Or what is it going to be used for?
So there's a whole policy about that, and in very short, if it's going to be used, I believe that a motion has to come to the members first. Is that correct? We're looking. While Tim's moving to a microphone, I am going to ask for a mover and a seconder for the motion. Microphone 1, are you moving it?
Monica Taylor, Spring Hill Ranch, Calgary, Alberta.
Thank you. And a seconder, microphone 2.
Afternoon, Lizzie DaCosta, Helen Park, Hamilton.
Thank you. Tim, microphone 2.
So the CHF Canada endowment funds originated from a wise decision to instead of fund through to allocate sector support payments originating from prior housing programs, and instead of spending them through operations, when received by CHF Canada, they were encumbered into endowment funds, which have become a very strong asset for CHF Canada to help us realize our overall mission. The funds within the endowment funds originating from these sector support payments cannot be spent or otherwise encumbered without resolution of the members. So and though there are some allocation of the endowment funds allowable through the policy and the bylaw transferred into program spending to support federation, to support transfers to regional federations, and to support the service delivery, CHF Canada's service delivery. In addition to the formula allowable under the policy and the bylaws governing the endowment funds, additional resolution was passed by the members in 2018, allowing CHF Canada to allocate $1 million from the endowment fund over several years to support the creation of a development capacity within CHF Canada. So any allocations in excess of the base formula that you see transferring from the endowment funds to operations are pursuant to that resolution.
Thank you, Tim. Now, back to the subject at hand. So an overview of the 2025 budget and information about the budget forecast for 2026 is combined in a single narrative report, which was made available on the annual meeting website and is in your information book as well. The members receive an initial forecast for the following year at each annual meeting at the same time as they are asked to approve the new dues rates for that year. And as is done each year, the board will finalize the forecast in the fall following its annual planning session and report back to the members on the final budget at the next annual meeting. And so now I'm going to call on your treasurer once again to provide you with some information about this year's budget and next year's forecast.
Give me a second. Great. Thanks again, Marianne. Hello again. Bonjour encore.
Hello again.
Here's some of the highlights of the 2025 budget and summary of the 2026 budget. As always, our services to members and our strategic plan drive the budget. Our priorities remain the same as last year: to maintain and improve the sustainability of housing co-ops, support the scale and growth of the sector, promote the co-op identity and values, sector diversity, equity and inclusion, and lastly, promote co-op leadership and organizational excellence. Next. In 2025, at $9.19 million, we plan to spend $833,131 more than we spent in 2024. This planned spending breaks down as follows: $2.72 million on member services, $549,100 on public affairs and policy, $69,300, the net cost of our co-op housing development program, $436,100 on corporate services, $737,200 for administration costs, net recoveries, just over $4.6 million for all of our human resources, and $37,200 for our program operations in southwestern Ontario, Atlantic, and Prairie provinces, regions. This spending will allow us to undertake our planned scope of work this year, which includes increased activity and costs of co-op development work, some increases in personnel and associated costs over 2024 levels for support in the regions and co-op development work, member services, and increased government relations activity related to communications, federal and provincial elections, and research, as well as leasehold improvements allowances for Ottawa office renovations and IT system upgrades, and inflationary cost adjustments. More details on these activities and our other planned spendings are included in the budget report in your information book. Slide 4. At $858 million, we expect our direct revenues to be 6% less than we received in 2024. Dues and sectoral contributions are projected slightly lower in 2025 than 2024, but this is projected to be offset by the insurance programs, asset and financial planning services, and AGM revenues. Our continued practice of budgeting conservatively for investment income, other revenues, and our cooperators' loyalty allocation, which often exceeds our budgeted expectations, but they can fluctuate. As explained in the budget report in your meeting book, our practice is to transfer the loyalty payment to reserves at year-end and to transfer back out of reserves a portion of the loyalty allocation received and added to reserves in 1 year into operations for spending in the following and subsequent years. So we will take a portion of the 2024 amount added to the reserves last year into operations this year. Breaking down the $8.58 million in expected revenue, you can see that the 39%, or $3.3 million, comes from member dues, 19%, or $2.2 million, from insurance assets and financial planning, and the rest are from AGM, loyalty program investment, and other revenues. Other revenue includes our micro-grant program, government grants, fees for services, and education service programs. It's too early to provide a meaningful, detailed budget to you for 2026, but the budget does provide for a full complement of staff and work. At this point, it's a preliminary budget only, and as happens each year, some of the assumptions made in late 2024 when this budget was developed will have changed by late 2025. Our current revenue projections for 2026 total $8.9 million, as was the case in 2025, at $3.4 million, and the 2025 dues represent the single largest contributor to our budget of revenues, and other sources of revenues are expected to total $8.03 million. With transfers from other funds and a portion of a previous year's cooperators' loyalty allocation, our expected revenues will match or exceed our expenses in 2026. We will continue to work proactively to identify and take advantage of emerging opportunities to realize our strategic objectives and to maintain a strong financial position for our work. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. So the motion is that the 2025 budgets for operations and the National Endowment Fund, moved too fast for me, receive the 2025 budget and 2026 forecast. A for support, B for opposed, C for abstain. And pressing that button is all that's standing between you and a break, so press fast. Apparently you don't want a break. Okay, a couple more seconds. We can close the vote and share the results, please. That motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings the financial resolutions to an end. And as we head into the break, I just want to give you your final reminder about making a contribution to our local charity, St. Clair's. It's a charitable organization that provides affordable mixed-income housing in downtown Toronto. If you did not have the opportunity to make a cash donation yesterday, you can donate directly through their website using the QR code on the screen. Thank you very much for your contributions. And we will take a 10-minute break, so we'll be back at 3:17.